Big Sills! Happy Draft Monday to you. Hope all had a great weekend. A lot of great sports over the weekend. Actually, I'm watching some of the NBA playoffs. Watched the spring leagues. Most notably, I watched the NFL draft. Hard to believe, maybe not. 34 million people on Thursday night. 34 million people. So the first round of the NFL draft, over 310,000 people showed up to Kansas City for the NFL draft. That's the power of the league. Opportunities were given to many kids. And I'll tell you, I've said this to you before. I really don't think this was a spectacular draft, but I do think it was one of the most compelling. My synopsis on the Eagles. If any one of these players that they drafted doesn't pan out, it's not because they didn't do their due diligence, think this through, underdraft, went to schools that had great what? Assistant coaches. You know, players today, when they're looking for a program, you know the most essential thing is? It's not so much about the head coach. What kind of position coach am I going to get that's going to elevate my game so I have a shot at being a potential NFL prospect? They stayed in the big program sandbox. Smart. Thorough. As I said, doing their due diligence. Needs. I haven't even mentioned the players' names yet. That's where you have to start on a Monday. The grades, you grade by filling needs first. The potential comes. What's great about this draft for Philly, and then you add in the trade for DeAndre Swift, which is insane. I mean, that might be the hidden gem of this whole thing here. That might be the whole gem is this DeAndre Swift move. I think that guy's an electric ball player. I like him a lot. And I heard the guys talking earlier, and I've talked to Chris Spielman. It's one of the things that they said about him, and it's true. Said that, you know, he outruns his blocking. He's not patient enough. And in Detroit, you got to remember something. Detroit had the third best O-line. I think being in that RPO system may help him because you have to be patient in that system. I'm not saying he's not going to get better coaching in Philly, but he's also going to be playing with some really fine Hall of Fame type football players that maybe, again, patience will be his biggest lesson he learns in Philly. He's also on one of those Howie Roseman one-year deals. You can either play here, son, or maybe you get an opportunity to play somewhere else. Okay, we're going to get to DeAndre Swift here in a minute. These players have all been given an opportunity that the Philadelphia Eagles drafted. I think Howie Roseman, I'm going to get to him, obviously, throughout the day here. Spectacular. I mean, I don't know how many adjectives I could use in how he addressed this draft. The whole offseason has been better, grander, smart. From Jalen Hurts to getting Kelsey back, the corners back. It's been tremendous. You know, I said, I think it was March 13th, you'd never make the playoffs. Well, that take is one of those cold takes. We're going to look at the roster. Philly's put together potentially a better football team than they had a year ago. And there's still some work to do when June 1 hits. It's an exciting time to watch what's going on. Starts with the quarterback, getting that contract done. Jalen working with the organization. Jalen wanting to be an Eagle. It's really great. By the way, I hated the ESPN coverage. Loved the NFL Network coverage. And loved our coverage as well. The Eagle draft now. Jalen Carter has the potential to be one of the greatest defensive linemen the Eagles have ever had. Is he a little lazy in practice? Yes. So is Jerome Brown. And when you're around better players like Reggie White or Fletcher Cox, you get an opportunity to learn how to prepare. And one of the things that I wish that I had was that Leroy Selman hadn't retired the year before I got to the Bucs, because I could have watched a professional be a professional. If I'm Jalen Carter, I am like Velcro to Fletcher Cox and to Brandon Graham, watching those guys how to become a pro. Let me give you an example of this. I showed up in Dallas and I watched Too Tall Jones. Showed up every day, 12:05. Got taped. Went and got treatment. Put his gear on. Every day, meticulous, how he handled himself in team meetings. I watched this guy, and I watched what it was like to be a professional football player. I had never seen it before, and it wasn't on display for me when I was in Tampa. It was watching Ed Too Tall Jones was a lesson in how to be a pro. I'm sitting there watching him and Randy White, and I'm going like this. Wow, do I not know what I'm doing? Holy shit. You know, when you show up in college and you show up to college meetings, you're the king of the room. When you show up in an NFL team meeting, bro, you're just another dude in the room. Some guys separate themselves like Reggie and Jerome and some of these other guys. Granted, LT. But when you show up to an NFL locker room, you're just another guy in the room. You better act professional, and you better show you got professionalism in the room on how you prepare for Sunday games. And that will be on display. We're going to talk more about him, but the player himself, what more can I say? Underdrafted. Follow me here as I go through the list of players. Underdrafted. You know that Mozzie Smith kid the Cowboys drafted? They overdrafted. He's a third rounder. Okay? Cody says, I'd rather have Bijan. Tell you what, I understand, because he's a playmaking offensive player. We're going to look at the depth chart in that offense also throughout the day. Jalen Carter's a better player than Bijan Robinson. He's a better ball player. Remember, I want ball players. You give me the better ball player, you could have flipped a coin on Will Anderson and him who the better player was in this draft. I told you there were five guys. Five guys. The Fletcher sign might be worth the $10 million. Sue, or 55573. I said this, one of the reasons that Fletcher Cox, in my opinion, was brought back is because of twofold. Jordan Davis has to play better, and they were eyeballing Jalen Carter. He's a great football player. Everything on display in college. Left no stone unturned. Now it's up to the player. By the way, all these opportunities that the Eagles have given all these players, these 7 players, it's in their hands now. If they fail, it's because they did not live up to their own expectations. I think the Eagles have done all their homework here. I mean, the programs that they drafted from, I told you they stayed in the big program sandbox. I love that because, again, if I pass on a guy and I miss on Jerry Rice because he went to Mississippi Valley State, I understand that. I completely do. But if I draft Larry Fitzgerald because he went to Pitt, I'm good with that too, though. My chances of landing on Larry Fitzgerald's of the world because I stay into big programs are greater. You're trying to dismiss failing in the draft here. Nolan Smith. You know, I know a lot of people like him. We'll see. I think he's somewhat of a little bit of a project. He's been hurt 2 of the last 3 years. His athleticism is off the charts. That's what Georgia does. Kirby Smart, the reason why you're seeing more players drafted from Georgia is why than Alabama. is because Kirby used to be the defensive recruiter for the Alabama Crimson Tide when he was there. And when he went to Georgia, he's now brought that dynamic to Athens. That's why you're seeing so many people on that side of the football being drafted. Kirby can draft defensive guys. He's got a great eye for it. Now, Nolan Smith, in my opinion, I think he could be something like a Pat Swilling. Google him. Some of you may not know who Pat Swilling is. He's a heck of a ball player. Okay? Or Mike Coffey, someone like that. He could be a player like that. He could be an outside. I don't think he's Derek Thomas. I don't believe he's Von Miller or Myles Garrett. But I do think he can become something that could be somebody like a Trent Cole. Something like that, somewhere in there. Trent Cole's a Pro Bowler. Okay? Pat Swilling is a Saints Hall of Famer. He's a tremendous ball player. Maybe one of the more underrated pass rushers that we've seen in the NFL is Pat Swilling. He's somebody like that. Okay? I don't think he's Simeon Rice. Simeon Rice is bigger. Plus, he's a true DE. Okay? The Tyler Steen kid, Bama, offensive lineman. Personally, I think he's more of a finesse tackle. And I want to see how that dynamic works out. Okay? I want to see how that works out. I do. Starting at Alabama is a huge deal, though. It's an absolute huge deal. So you start at a program like that, kudos to you. That means he has to have some athleticism, and that means that Jeff Stoutland saw a lot in this player and saw a lot that this guy here can bring to the Eagles and could be that guy that could be the swing dude that they're looking for, and especially if Cam Jurgens doesn't pan out. Not a bad pick. By the way, in my opinion, maybe overdrafted a little bit. 65th player taken sounds about right. Like when I say overdrafted, I don't think terribly overdrafted. Okay? Maybe down in the 80s somewhere, but that's okay. That's okay. You started at Alabama. You got great coaching there. You played in a great conference. You played against great kids. That's a good deal. And if I could start there, I'm good. Too many, see, when you look at some of the places and some of the backgrounds with some of these players and how they evaluated them, it's pretty smart. Sidney Brown, 66th player taken from Illinois. What's the one thing we noticed about Illinois and IU? All those Lovie Smith DBs went early in the draft. They looked at Lovie's guys. Those were Lovie Smith's guys. That's not the current coaching staff's guys. That's not the former Billamy. That's not the former Wisconsin guys, players. Those are Lovie Smith guys. And I think this kid's a good ball player. I personally think he's underdrafted. He could have went higher. But the position again, okay? Adding depth. Look at that too. Look at what they've done. DT, needed depth. Got an edge rusher. Brandon Graham's probably not going to be on the team next year. They're light in the O-line with depth. They got depth there. All needs. Talent, coaching, conference, player. You can't ask for all those dots to be put on the T's and all this and I's and all that. It connects too well. This is really thoroughly thought out. There's a game plan here. Where did they need some more help? Secondary. They completely underdrafted this Keely Ringo kid. I thought he was a high second rounder. Okay. Again, DB help. Slot, safety, corner. I think this kid Ringo's he's more of a safety. More depth in the secondary, depth in O-line, edge rushing depth, edge rushing that could be somebody special, Nolan Smith, and DT, somebody who could be one of your foundations for the next decade. Tanner McKee, a great sign. A great sign. Huge kid. Was drafted by Coach Shaw. Smart as hell. Doesn't really fit the system. But to me, I think personally I thought he was going to go in the third round. That's a great draft. And I told you something that I think every general manager, depending on what your need is for that respected year, I think you should draft a quarterback in every single draft that you're a general manager for, because you never know when you land on Brady. You never know when you land on Russell Wilson. You never know when you land on Joe Montana. You just never know. I like that pick. Ojimo, this kid from Texas, 249 DT. Got to have guys like this on your team. Why? Can't pay everybody. Can't pay everybody. Probably start on the practice squad. But again, look what they did. Even look at what they did in their picks. What's the most significant thing you notice here? Georgia, Bama, Illinois, Georgia, Stanford. You understand that to get into that school, you've got to be a savant. And you want your quarterback to be headstrong and a smart thinking dude and a quick thinker. Stanford produces some pretty decent quarterbacks. Not great, but they do. And then your last pick's Texas. Then you get DeAndre Swift for nothing. I can't believe that. That kid's a good ball player. Overall, here, let's not use the names first. Let's just do this. Let's just look at the needs. DT needs, yes. Edge, yes. Line, yes. Secondary, yes. Backup quarterback, yes. An elite back, yes. Let's take a look at where they came from. 3 players, the top 3 players, are in the best conference in the country, playing against the best people in the country, getting the best coaching in the country. Do you understand something? That your assistant coaches, that are your coordinators at Philadelphia, they make the same amount of money as the coordinators at Georgia and Alabama. Do you know those coordinators, especially offense and defensively, do you know those guys make $3 million a year? You're getting just as good a coaching at Bama and Georgia as you do in Philly. There's a reason Bill O'Brien had to be given more of a pay raise because he was the OC at Alabama. They gave him $1.5 million more to go back to New England with more power in the offense. There's a reason. Shit, Clemson pays their guys enormous. Those coaching staffs are I would say that at Alabama and I would say that at Georgia, those coaching staffs have to be, including the head coach, $20 million apiece. Every kid that comes out of high school wants to go to the best place, exposure, coaching, conference, all of that. which gives you confidence. The kid Steen, hey, he may be a finesse guy. He did start at Alabama getting the best coaching. Brown was recruited by a guy I respect a lot defensively in Lovie Smith. Coach Shaw knows talent offensively, in my opinion. They haven't had a lot of winning over the last couple of years. I think COVID had a lot to do with that shitty conference. In the school with all those mandates, kids didn't want to go play there. Seriously, Stanford is one of the programs that was decimated because of COVID, in my opinion. Okay? The playing on and off. Them playing only 4 or 5 games because of COVID. The mandates, kids didn't want to play there. They left California and they went to the Southeastern Conference. The Pac-12 got destroyed over COVID. The SEC got stronger. It even affected Pac-10 teams. The reason you're seeing SEC all over the board here, especially with the Eagles, they played throughout the pandemic. Bunch of really great players that would have stayed home out west or in the Midwest went to the Southeastern Conference. SEC doesn't cancel games. They don't cancel games, my friends. That's not what that thing does. And kids want to play. There was no political mandates, and I think that hurt these conferences. And that's why the SEC is dominating the draft, especially through the pandemic. I think that Howie Roseman not only had a draft, but the Jalen Hurts contract and all what I said. Boy, I mean, he might be the best general manager in all sports. Now, the one thing that he does have to do, I think he has to win a championship again to solidify it. Because when you're putting together, and look, what New England did was because they had Brady. What the Eagles are doing, hey, think about what I'm about to say to you. What the Eagles are doing since 2000, I think is more impressive than what New England did by winning all those championships. And I'm going to show you and tell you why I think that. And most people won't think down these lines. So you had to get over the Andy Reid era. Kind of unfulfilled. Won a lot. Were in great positions to win championships, right? Andy was a heck of a coach. Heck of a coach. 5 opportunities to win a conference title. You win 1. Like I said, kind of underachieved. So you got through that. Then you did an experiment with a coach from college. Hey, for the record, Chip Kelly's name was out there. The Buccaneers were going to give him a job. He could have had his pick when he was at Oregon. Could have had his pick. And when he left Oregon, he demanded it. He had the power. Okay, so they put Howie in the broom closet. Still had a winning record. Destroyed the team. Believed in those 85 plays. That was never going to be sustainable in the National Football League offense. Because they just don't have the depth in the roster that you have in college. You have 85 kids on scholarship. In the NFL, you have 47, 53 guys. That's not going to work. You're going to wear your defense out doing that shit. So be it. So be it. They got over that. They bring in Doug Peterson. They build the roster up. They bring guys like Chris Long, like Garrett Blunt, Adai, put a bunch of people on that team. And that football team ended up running through the tape and winning a Super Bowl with a quarterback that you drafted. Inferno says the Eagles draft feels similar to the late 90s Bucks core defenders, Sapp, Brooks, Lynch. True. But remember, they underachieved with Tony Dungy. Okay? That group underachieved a little bit, Latin Inferno, until Gruden got there. And he added the Jureviciuses and other players to go along with that group that Tony had put the core group around. What I'm saying to you is, and where I'm going with this is, the Eagles have had to adjust with 3 different coaches and 3 different quarterbacks, and they're still winning. How many organizations can say that they've adjusted with 3 different quarterbacks and 3 different head coaches, and they're basically on the same path every year to be competitive in the NFC East and win the East? How many teams could do that? The Patriots aren't. They got off Brady. They're still struggling. The Dolphins haven't been able to replace Dan Marino since Marino retired back in the late 90s. The Denver Broncos had to go sign and had to get Peyton Manning to go. John Elway was a train wreck with the Paxton Lynches of the world, the Brock Osweilers, and all that bullshit he had up there. He had nothing up there. He didn't get it right. He had to go get free agents, especially at the quarterback position. Look at what Los Angeles did. They drafted Goff, number 1 overall, got him to a Super Bowl. After a while, they realized he ain't getting us where we need to go. What I'm saying to you is that the Eagles are doing it with a system and a formula that they've put in place probably since Joe Banner. They've modified it. They've wobbled it. But at the end of the day, there's a result that you're getting. I can criticize all the drafts over the last 23 years. But the one thing that I can say to you that they've done is win. Remember, sometimes you criticize how you drive, but it really is like my grandpa used to say, you can criticize how my driving is, but if I arrive where I need to get, what do you care? Okay? Philiopolis goes, Sills, how long have I been telling you that Howie's the best GM in the game? I don't think he was the best general manager in the game prior to the broom closet. I don't think he listened. I think he tore your team apart. I think he was adversarial with Doug Peterson. General manager's job is to try to get a win, not try to rip your team apart and throw football games at the end of the year so you can get a better draft position and fixing games. That's not a good GM to me. Pulling players off in the final game of the season, how do you know some of those players didn't need incentives? I think this guy has become a better general manager today. And I think he's more patient. And I'll say this to you too. One of the things you take away from this draft, watching him operate, is the patience and the poise they had. Okay? The patience and the poise. I think he's done a whale of a job. And I think he's absolutely, I would say this to you, Latin Inferno. I would say that he is absolutely, without a doubt, in my opinion, I think this guy has gone out and done some really wonderful things when it comes to his patience. RB rotation, exciting, Big Sills. I don't know about that. Okay, I really don't. I don't. But I'll say this to you. I personally, once again, believe that this guy has learned so much when it comes to the ability to be able to be patient and understand what's going on in that room there when we're talking about his drafting, his dealing with free agency, how about this? The patience that he dealt with when it came to dealing with Jalen Hurts' contract as well. I would say that too. Micah Parsons was crying. Micah Parsons, I'll tell you this, Dallas, in my opinion, I think they were okay. We'll talk about the NFC East here in a minute. I want to get to the topics now. I want to talk a little bit more about the topics here. And I'll say this to you once again, a letter grade on the draft. I told you that Monday morning letter grades or Monday afternoon letter grades sometimes are a little bit for television, a little bit for the media. But how I look at it, needs, coaching, performance, ability, how they played inside their conferences, there is no question, in my opinion, they did all their homework in every single one of these football players, and they're giving these guys every opportunity to be a star football player. I think they have the beginnings of something really great here this offseason, and I'm going to make a proclamation here to you now. I got a feeling that this roster may be actually better than last year's roster. I think it could be better than last year's roster. I do. Jalen Carter is an upgrade to Javon Hargrave. He's a better ball player. He's a better football player. Okay? He's a better player. He's going to be more active. He's a better run stopper. He's a better player. I don't know you're as deep. So maybe you bring Seward Linville Joseph back and add to that rotation there with Milton. So if you let's just hypothetically do this. You brought Sue back. You have Milton Williams. You have Jalen Carter. You have Jordan Davis. And you have Fletcher Cox. You don't think that's a better triangle and interior D-line than what you had a year ago? Boy, I do. I do. You add Nolan Smith now as another edge rusher? You think your pass rush? How about this? Your edge rushers look better. With Hassan on the other side, Nolan Smith gets to learn from Hassan Reddick, who had 16 sacks last year. Jalen Carter gets to learn from Fletcher Cox. Nolan Smith and all them guys get to learn from Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick. Boy, tell you what, that's a heck of a classroom. I hope these kids listen, especially Jalen Carter. I'm going to talk about him in a minute here. Linebacking core worries me. Hey, you have not upgraded your linebacking core from TJ Edwards and Kaiser White yet. And I know some of you are all over Nakobe Dean. Folks, stay with me here on planet Earth. Nakobe Dean has to show he can play in this league first before you start dubbing him a star. He's got to show he can play, and he hasn't yet. So that's an outlier. The safety position, you've added depth. One of those kids is going to play. I think you're going to cover your safety position. I think your corners are great. The defense, I'm going to walk something back here. You're right. Howie has put together, how about this? I think he's put maybe more talent on the defense this year, but doesn't have the same experience that he put together a year ago. Is that fair? The experience factor is what's missing here compared to what he did a year ago. Now, why is that important? Well, the quarterback and the money that had to be put out there, you have to get younger. But how he got younger and what else? More athletic. He didn't go younger, cheaper. He went younger, more athletic, and cheaper. Cheaper's okay when they're on rookie deals. You feel me? Cheaper's okay when they're more athletic and you're on rookie deals. You're okay with that. What you don't want to see is this: cheaper, older, less experience. That's not what they've done. That's not what the Eagles have done putting this defense and putting this roster together here. That's not what they've done. They went cheaper, more athletic, and younger. You're great with that. You are great with that. Okay? You're great with it. The only difference from this group to last year's group is the experience component. TJ's more experienced. Kaiser's more experienced. Hargrave's more experienced. That's the component that you're concerned about, because now you've got to see these guys in the heat of battle. Now you've got to watch them putting it all together. I'll tell you something else. Sean Desai has to put all the pieces now together in how they're going to put this defense together. What's the best scheme that he is going to be able to utilize every single bit of the talent that they have put on that roster now on that side of the ball? We're going to look at the depth chart here in a second. We're going to look at that in a second here, and I'm going to tell you the kind of defense that I think they should play. Two more things before I get to that. Jordan Davis. Son, they have doubts about you. The Eagles have doubts about you. Not that you can't be a player, but that you'll be an impact player. They went back to the same school, the same D-line coach, the same conference. For what reason? You weren't quite what we thought you would be last year. And again, this is not a bust conversation. This is not a bust conversation, whether he's a bust. I don't believe he is. I just don't believe, and I thought, as I did a year ago, who he was turned out to be who I think he'll be. Okay? And for the record, I don't believe this has anything to do with his weight. I think this has everything to do with learning to be a great player. Play with your pads lower. Understanding technique. Understanding you're now in the NFL here. You're not in the Southeastern Conference anymore. As great as that conference is, you've got to study. Do we try to trade for Davin White? No. No. I do not believe. You got Kaiser White after June 1. Be patient. Let's see June 1 who gets released. The Bucs may cut him. How do you know the Bucs don't cut him? Because the cap. Buccaneers are in cap hell. How do you know the Bucs don't cut him? How do you know there's not going to be a star linebacker out there that gets cut? Howie swoops in, offers him a first-year, one-year deal, one of those Howie specials, and he comes in and you get a quality guy in the room. Hang in there. Be patient. There's no reason to give up draft equity right now when you still have another date on the calendar, June 1. Hang in there, because there's where you could get more experience. How about if they cut a D tackle? That's a pretty good player you want to bring in, give him a one-year deal, put him in the lineup there with the rest of those guys. Now we're cooking. You're going to see guys, in my opinion, after June 1, that are going to be cut. Why? Because most of these teams now are paying these quarterbacks gargantuan money. Hang in till June 1. You don't have to give draft equity up right now. You just don't. Hang in there. I love all the guys they drafted, where they're from, who they're coached, what conference they're in. The production on most of them is exceptional. The athleticism. And get this, do you know that every single one of these kids, even the last kid you drafted, that Ojimo kid, do you know that these guys were all in the top 100 ESPN high school football prospects? Every single one of these guys. I looked it up. These guys have been star players their entire life. Their entire life. Okay? You know, just remember something. It's not where you're drafted. It's if you're drafted. Because then you take advantage of that once you get to the NFL. So every one of these guys were highly thought of coming out of high school, played at enormous colleges. There's a lot of freaking homework that went into this draft. And you know what's crazy? For you not to know how the board is going to lie out and how the board's going to be, you did this shit on the fly. You did this shit on the fly. Very impressive. Very impressive. Like I said, we're going to look at the depth chart here in a second. But I do want to say this about Jordan Davis. Son, you got to play now. Because the Eagles don't really think you had a good year. They think you're a good ball player. They like you a lot. And they're counting on you. Don't let us down. That's what I feel. That's the conversation I think we're in with him. I think we're in the conversation where Jordan Davis, get this, son, honeymoon's over. Honeymoon's over. You got to go to work now. There's no excuses. You play in the National Football League. You have no excuses any longer. This is about going to work and living up to not the Eagles' expectations, your own. You could let yourself down. Don't take it from Big Sills. Don't let yourself down. You will kill yourself later. And I don't mean literally. You will beat yourself up for the rest of your life if you let an opportunity like this slip through your hands. Don't be that guy. You can't be that big and run 4.78s and not be a 10-sack guy. It just doesn't equate. That's why everybody argues with me about Jordan Davis. You're right. How can a guy 4.78 have no sacks and really no pressures and no hits on the quarterback? How can that be? You got to be better. Work at your craft better. I think he needs to work harder. I don't think it has anything to do with his weight. Work harder, kid. Work harder. You should work the same. You should work out with Jalen Hurts and watch how he prepares himself. I think this is about preparing mentally for the season. Okay? If I've got to hey, guys, if I got to tell you to get away from White Castle, there's already a problem with your discipline. I shouldn't have to tell you not to be a fat ass. You've been given an opportunity. Take advantage of it. Now for Jalen Carter, be smart, son. Be smart. Every single media person in Philadelphia is waiting for your failure. And they're gonna attack you. They are waiting for your failure. They believe you're gonna fail. So they can write a story. They believe that you don't have character. Prove them wrong. They believe you don't like to work hard. They believe that you don't want to put the work in. All those things take no talent. That's the things that can be fixed easily. Think about what I just told you guys. Think about what I just said. Work harder. You don't need ability for that. You need dedication for that. Study harder. You don't need ability for that. You need dedication for that. Practice hard. You don't need ability for that. You need dedication. I think there's a dedication issue. Be more dedicated. See, when you're at Georgia and you're Jalen Carter, you can kill people because you're gifted so much. And God put his hand on your shoulder and left it there a little longer than everybody else, including me. What you've done is you've taken advantage of it. You've not worked at it. What made Jordan great was that Jordan was the hardest working dude in the building, let alone the greatest player. You know why Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time? Because he wasn't just the greatest basketball talent of all time. He was the greatest worker of all time. Never missed games, never did any of that shit. Tone puts a great one. Get this. Look at the gamble the Eagles are in right now. It's interesting. The future of the Eagles' defensive tackle position is in jeopardy if Davis and Carter can't live up to expectations. It'll be the biggest flop in the history of the Eagles if those two guys fall on their face. Absolutely. And get this. I will not kill Howie. He's not wrong to draft those guys. He's not. Those players would have failed their opportunities. And I would look at those players more than I would the general manager who gave them the opportunity. Those guys, it's in their hands to be great now. If they fail, it's on them. Especially with Carter. Carter's failures aren't going to be on the field. They'll be off the field. Both these guys, just in different ways in how you look at them, have dedication issues. I think there's dedication issues for both of them. How dedicated are you to being the best player you could possibly be? Ask yourself that, Jordan Davis. Ask yourself, Jalen Carter. When you line up against some of these players in the NFL and you're going against some of the elite tackles and guards and centers, when a guy's slipping and scooping you, are you going to put your head down? or are you going to put your head down and go to work? There's two ways to put your head down in this league. One is in shame, feeling sorry for yourself, and the other is to go and do your homework. Those are the two ways you get better in this league. And the guys who can overcome, because I tell my kid this all the time. When you play against elite people, you're going to get beat. How you overcome that and how you respond to that is the testament to your character and your dedication on what you want to be when you become an NFL football player. I failed at it. I did. I learned a brutal lesson in life. Brutal. And it's a lesson that you can't get back. That's the suck-ass thing of it. The NFL is one-way ticket. You don't get on board again. You're either sailing and moving ahead or you sunk your ship. Those two guys have a lot of the future of the Philadelphia Eagles in their hands. Two guys that have dedication issues. Okay? Two guys that have dedication. Can you imagine this? Those two players, I would tell them, man, don't let something that has no athleticism be a factor in your failures. And by the way, I'm not starting this off thinking that about these guys but don't fall into the trap. You got to go to work now and work harder because more expectations are on you. That's what I'm saying. I think these kids are great players. I do think that about Jordan. Hey, just because I don't think he's the 13th player, I'm not saying he can't be Vince. I thought Vince Wilfork was a great ball player. I thought Vince was. Sink or swim. Absolutely sink or swim. Let's look at this roster now. Let's look at this roster. Offense and defense. Let's start with this offense. Lane Johnson, A. Cam Jurgens, I don't know yet. Kelsey, Hall of Famer. Lane, Hall of Famer. Landon Dickerson, future All-Pro. Jordan Mailata, future All-Pro. Dallas Goedert, future All-Pro. All phenomenal football players. Jurgens is the outlier. Quez, I don't really care. He's fast. I could put anybody in there at 3. Devontae Smith, developing into being the next Marvin Harrison. A.J. Brown, plays like T.O. and Michael Irvin. DeAndre Swift puts the cherry on top of the offense. And arguably the best decision maker in the NFL at quarterback is Jalen Hurts. It's the best offense in the NFC. And I don't think it's close. I don't think it's close. Who's got a better offense? San Francisco's got a headless horseman. Who's got a better offense in the NFC? Who's got a better offense? Seattle? No. Dallas? No. Who's got a better offense? I don't see it. How about this? Is that a better offense than Kansas City? Yeah. And Maniac, am I wrong? Am I wrong when I say this? I think the Philadelphia Eagles have a better offense than the Kansas City Chiefs. I didn't say better quarterback. I think they got a better offense. They got a better offense than the Chiefs do. They have a better offense than the Chargers do. I think Cincinnati's got a good one, but their O-line is not what the Eagles are. Is Buffalo? Buffalo's offense is good, but it's not Philly good because the outlier is the O-line. The Eagles have the best offense in the National Football League. A lot of pressure on Brian Johnson here. Best offense. I never in a billion years would have said this May 1, 2022. This offense, in my opinion, is better than the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagle 2022 team. I think it's better. Does the right guard position, do I question it? I would if Stoutland wasn't in the building. I would. I would question it. But I think they can overcome it. Personally, DeAndre Swift, I think he's an upgrade from Miles Sanders. You upgraded the running back position for nothing. I think you're an upgrade now. I love that move. I love that move. I love the DeAndre Swift move. I almost fainted when I went, holy shit, DeAndre Swift is going to the Eagles. A hometown kid gets to go back home. I almost fainted. I was like, they got that kid for nothing? Nothing. And if the guy walks, they get a fourth rounder for him. Holy shit, this guy's like Merlin the Magician. This guy belongs not in the Philadelphia Eagles front office at the NovaCare Center. This guy belongs at Arthur's Round Table. This guy's like a magician. This guy belongs at Excalibur. Tremendous. I'm trying to think of a general man. I mean, you know what? He's starting to borderline Ozzie Newsome stuff. I mean it. He's starting to border Ozzie Newsome. Now, here's the deal, though. These rookies and these players that he drafted, they have to play like Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and Jonathan Ogden. Okay? That's where I said he's getting into that realm. Because remember something about Ozzie's guys. Those guys just weren't good ball players. Those guys were the elite guys at their positions. The Ogdens, the Bryant McKinneys, the Ed Reeds, the Ray Lewises, the Jamal Lewises. All those guys that Ozzie Newsome drafted all went on to greatness. These guys have to do some of the same things, especially on the side of the football that he's not been known to have a lot of success on. I love the fact he's staying in the Southeastern Conference. That offense is the best offense in the NFC. Just absolutely. Okay. Thug says Steen's weakness is run blocking. I personally think he's a finesse tackle. And I think you're going to have to tie him to a chair and whip his ass a little bit to get him a little tougher. That's a euphemism. Okay, but I just think he's a finesse guy. Weapon says that DeAndre Swift is huge. He was killing us in the first game of the season. Vision is ridiculous. Weapon, I said this to you, and I'll go back and say this. That game last year, I think personally, of all the teams that they played last year, I think the toughest game that the Eagles played last year was game one. And I think everybody in Philadelphia saw what DeAndre Swift was capable of being. He's Le'Veon Bell. That's another Le'Veon Bell type guy. If I were to make a comparison for DeAndre Swift when healthy, it's Le'Veon Bell. He reminds me of Le'Veon Bell. That's how good a ball player I think he is Le'Veon Bell. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball. Brandon Graham, double-digit sacks. Left defensive tackle, Carter and Davis. Future of the Philadelphia Eagles is right there in those two men. I can't wait to watch it. Man, you talk about abundance of physical specimens. Those two men. Now what they have to do is fulfill their destiny. Tracy Rocker coached these kids too. There's already a built-in trust level. There's already an understanding. And how great is that? Sills, are you ready to say Super Bowl? Let me finish. How great is it? Let me tell you one of the worst things you can do when you get drafted to a place. You walk into a place, you don't know the coach's expectations. You have no idea who he is. Look at the advantage that Davis and Jalen Carter have knowing Tracy Rocker, knowing what he expects, knowing what he wants from you, knowing how he's going to be counting on you, knowing your failures and your weaknesses and strengths. And you're going to have to dispel some of those. Remember something too. Tracy knows who you are. Tracy knows what you are. So some of the things that could be a negative connotation on him, you're going to have to somehow make him think those aren't real any longer. A lot of it has to do with dedication. After the Swift trade, I think this is a 15-2 team. Let's look at the defense again. Brandon Graham, solid leader, good ball player. At the back end, he's on the back nine of his career. Still effective. He was I thought he really played well in the second half of the season. I don't think he ran out of gas. I thought he played pretty well out there. See what he does this year. See if he can put it back to back here now. As a matter of fact, I would say this, that Brandon Graham's career started out very slow, gained some steam around the 17, 18 years, and I think he had a trajectory that went up. Did it live up to the full expectation of what they thought? Look, he's a green jacket guy. That's all you can ask. Remember something. You're not trying to draft all pros and Hall of Famers. You're trying to draft starters. And that's what you've done here with Brandon Graham. Fletcher Cox. I said it a couple months ago. Remember, Tone? I think one of the reasons that they brought him back and gave him the $10 million is because of Jordan Davis. And on top of that, if it just so happened that they were able to land Jalen Carter. And it just so happens they did. And now the Fletcher Cox sign makes – think about this about the Fletcher Cox sign today on May 1 compared to when it first happened and everyone was going, 10 million? Look how good that sign is now in hindsight. Think about that, with how he was looking as a visionary. Man, if we're able to get that kid and bring him in here, that Fletcher Cox $10 million, he's worth $30 million with these young ball players here. Fletcher's going to be counted on a lot to help prepare these guys for their futures too. That $10 million now makes total sense. Okay? Total sense. Fletcher's going to – I thought Fletcher, when Depp was at it, I thought his second half of his season, I thought he was great. I thought he was great. For as old as he is, I think that sign now looks so good in hindsight. Tone's like, I agree. Fletcher's a prime position. Fletcher can extend his career in Philly with limited reps while grooming the young fellas. Trust these Georgia boys will inspire Fletch to keep him feeling young and play young. I think you get inspired, too, when you're a young player and you watch a guy like Fletcher Cox prepare. Trust me when I tell you. When I sat around watching Too Tall Jones, and I watched how a guy in his 18th year played and prepared himself, it's inspiring as a young guy because you want to do that. You want to play that long. Man, that's that guy's 17th, 18th year, and he's still killing it. He's still killing it. And what you do is you watch, you go, man, because, hey, the one thing you can have in your life is perseverance. There's a lot of broke, smart dudes in this world. There's a lot of guys who went to Ivy League schools that are dummies and failures. But the guy who works the hardest is the guy who's going to get where he wants to go. Because you know why? Human nature, I don't care if you went to Harvard or if you went to Hofstra. Human nature is this. People quit. People have a surrender point. People will wave their hand or the white flag. They have a surrender point. Most people have a surrender point. No matter how smart and talented you are. There's a point in everybody where you'll quit. Okay? There's a point where you'll quit. Seals, when you were playing pro ball all over the world, who was the one vet that inspired you every day to get after it? Fear. Fear of being cut. Fear of being cut. When I got to Dallas, it was totally Ed Jones, too tall. When I played at Miami, it's funny, it was a coach named Harold Allen. Pulled me into his office. Shit, man, you're about 7 on the depth chart. Where are you going with this? I said, well, I feel I'm better than these guys. He goes, oh, you do feel you're better. You ain't playing better. Why should I play you over that guy who's more productive than you? Because you tell me? Go to work, kid. Outwork them. You know most of these guys will quit. Be the one that doesn't quit. You have to be. You're not Jerome Brown. Sometimes it's conversations, Tone, with people that are honest with you. Tracy Rocker is going to be the truth teller with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. You know what he's going to tell those kids? Hey, you fucked this up before. Hey, you did great here. Hey, I believe you're here. And get this, it's going to come from a place of love because Tracy's been into battles with them. He's been in games with them. Tracy's one of the most accomplished defensive tackles in the history of college football, just like these two characters. These guys have nothing on Tracy Rocker coming out of college. Nothing. The only reason Tracy went in the second round to the Washington Redskins was because he had a knee injury at Auburn. He's an Outland and Lombardi winner. I mean, to say that Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are more accomplished than Tracy Rocker coming out of college is asinine. It's not true. So he could always come back to you two guys. Hey, man, you think you're better than me coming out of college? You ain't. And they're not. Do I think they have more ability than Tracy? I think the kid Carter does. But you're not going to be able to pull any bullshit on him. You're not. Tone, let me finish the defense, and then I'm going to give a proclamation here. Josh Sweat, right DE, proved to me last year he was a 3-down DE. I didn't believe it at the beginning of the season that he was a 3-down defensive end. He proved me wrong. Nicholas Morrow, I think he's a dude. Nakobe Dean, you need to be the dude. Am I high on you? No. Do I want to be surprised by you? Yes. Have you shown in your past you have ability? Yes. Has there been expectations put on you by the Eagles? Yes. Okay, kid, it's in your lap. It's in your lap. JM, who's Barnett? Strong side linebacker, Hassan Reddick. A stunning season. Stunning season. I don't believe he's a great tackler, and I do not believe he can cover anybody. However, running the hula hoop and getting to the quarterback, he is elite. He's not complete elite, but he's elite in getting to the quarterback. And no longer do you do this. What happened in Arizona? What happened in Carolina? The new narrative now with that conversation is this. Shows you how shitty those organizations are, Arizona and Carolina. They couldn't figure out the Rubik's Cube. They couldn't figure it out. And now you have Nolan Smith on the other side of that potentially. I mean, you put Nolan Smith at that will LB with Reddick at the strong side LB. So get this, how this could look. Brandon Graham, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, and Hassan Reddick. That's your front seven. If those guys live up to your expectation, you're better than the Niners' front seven. Let me read it again. Here's your front seven. Brandon Graham, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, and Hassan Reddick. That's your front seven. That gives me goosebumps. That's a better front seven than a year ago. I put the two DTs in there. I put 3 DTs. Thanks for keeping count, Bob. Bob always making sure. Your front seven. That's impressive. Now let's get to the other end. Bradbury, left corner. Slay, right corner. Edmonds, a safety. Reed Blankenship. Ringo or Sidney Brown? You put in there too. Remember what I said to you. You got more athletic, cheaper, and younger. This football team, not counting June 1, in my opinion, is the team to beat for the Super Bowl. That general manager has taken that clay on that spindle and spun a team. And you guys, some of you were right. He's molded it into something that's going to be right there again. You're the team to beat in the NFC. Even with the Morrow kid, who I think Smith will beat out. Nate, show me a better roster in the NFC. Is there a better roster? I'll debate it with you. Name me a better roster. And they have the quarterback to boot here. I'm more surprised by Howie and what he's done. Loss of words. Loss of words, man. Decent's not going to beat that roster, JM. There's nothing decent. The front seven has a chance to be. And get this. Like I said, the only difference with this group of dudes versus last year's group of dudes is experience. Could that rear its head? Yes. You're playing better QBs. You're playing better teams. I'm going to make a point here in a minute. One last thing. No, I'm going to save that. Gary Cobb's going to join us at the bottom of this hour. I've talked too much as it is. I want to look at the draft. Also, showing you the path that the Eagles will have. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. I have absolutely no respect for Jonathan Gannon, even more so today than when he was the shitty defensive coordinator for the Eagles. If that guy doesn't have bust head coach written all over him, I don't know what does. This guy's more concerned about the last place he was at than he is at the place he's currently at. Worry about cleaning up the Arizona Cardinals before you start talking shit on anybody else or anything else. And quite frankly, after being around Eagle fans and talking to them like I have the last 2 years, they don't give a shit about you, guy. They thought you sucked anyway. They thought the players at the end of the day won in spite of you. There's not one Eagle fan or even some of the players. Even Gardner Johnson. Be nice if somebody put us in a position to win. Dude, you're a goofball. Some people are made to be Robin, and some people are made to be Batman. You ain't Batman. You're actually Alfred. Okay? You're actually Alfred, dude. You're not even Robin. I have no respect for that guy. I don't give a he shouldn't give 10 shits about the Eagles right now. Players, what they did. If somebody questions him, hey, whatever, dude. I'm the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. I got one of 32 jobs in the world. Nobody hey, listen, me and the Philadelphia fans, we go back and forth and talk a lot of shit to one another. I get it. But I'm going to be on their side on this one. Hey, fuck you. Honestly, dude. Honest. I have no respect for you. Don't shit on that fan base. Just do not shit on that fan base. I don't mean to be that personal, but sorry. Okay? I don't mean to be that personal. Just, you know, it's almost like, hey, I could talk shit on you guys, but no one else. Hey, Ray, I'm sorry, dude. It's almost like, hey, nobody can talk shit but me on you guys. I don't know why I feel entitled like that, but I thought that if nobody's gonna talk shit on him but me. Okay? I just feel like yeah, man, I'll talk shit on them, not you guys. Hey, I don't know why I feel that way. I don't know what you guys have done. You've like poisoned the water or my mind or something. Gary Cobb, bottom of the hour, man. Every time that guy opens his face, man, I just want to punch it. I mean, hey, Latin Inferno, man. I just, I don't know. Every time I see something or hear something from that clown, I just go, relax, guy. Nobody likes you. Oh, Joseph, I'm sorry, man. Hey, maybe I'm taking liberties, man. Probably taking liberties. All right, let me show you something here with you guys and why you guys are going to win the NFC. Here, May 1, you did it. You made me eat my words from March 13th. Kudos. You know how many times I don't do that. You know how many times I don't do that. You made me eat my words. March 13th, I said you wouldn't make the playoffs. I'm wrong. You're going to win the NFC Championship, barring injuries. And the experience factor is kind of still something I'm concerned about. And I'm going to show you why also it might be easier this year compared to last year. Look at what now, this is all contingent on some of these first-round draft choices panning out at the quarterback position, okay? Look at what they have in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Tagovailoa. It's a laundry list of who's who. When it comes to shit, you could even throw Garoppolo down there at 13. Okay, you could even throw Garoppolo in there. Look at what's on the NFC side now. Right, Fly. They're going to eat their own. Look at what you have in the NFC here. Jalen Hurts. And think about this. Jalen is almost the only guy, am I right, off this list that would fit in the AFC. If you think about it, Hurts is the only guy as of right now, right, that could actually fit in the AFC. Look at the NFC. Jalen Hurts. Dak? What? Who's Dak? Kirk Cousins? I wouldn't trust that guy to be a star in a school play, let alone a star on Monday Night Football. Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones had 2 games. One of them was against the shitty Vikings. And you're like, really? The Giants think more of Daniel Jones than Saquon Barkley? How's that possible? Jared Goff? I'm starting to like him more. You know, I like Jared Goff more in Detroit than I did in LA. Isn't that crazy? I like him more in Detroit than I did when he was in LA. And he got to the Super Bowl in Los Angeles. Hey guys, you know, if you give Jalen a team award for getting to the Super Bowl, Goff took his team to the Super Bowl. All right? He took his team. He's a pretty accomplished kid, man. Justin Fields? Show me when you can hit the broadside of a barn throwing the ball. Bryce Young? Okay, we'll see. Derek Carr? Okay. Kyler Murray in Arizona with Jonathan Gannon. Oh, that'll be how about this? That'll be very entertaining to watch. So Kyler Murray got into it with their head coach. Wait till Kyler Murray gets a hold of Jonathan Gannon, who doesn't look like he's a true. Jonathan Gannon doesn't come off like a leader to me. He comes off like a school teacher or a librarian. I mean, am I right when I say that? Sills, give me your definition of Jonathan Gannon. I don't know, a CPA or somebody that works at the library. Okay? Like somebody like that. He's a CPA. Matthew Stafford? All right, sure. And then Geno Smith. My point is, Jalen Hurts, Cowboys. We're going to get to we haven't even gotten to the draft yet, but we're going to get to the NFC East here in a second. Gary Cobb's going to join us in a little bit. We're going to get his take on all this. But, I mean, look, here are the quarterbacks. Here are the quarterbacks that are in the NFC East. Sam Howell, is that his name? The kid from UNC? Daniel Jones and Dak. I don't know about you, man, but that doesn't look like a really tough 4-man race to me. That doesn't make me go, hey, I got to really, button down the hatches here. And those teams really, I don't know. Right? There's good coaching, though, in Washington now. I like the hiring of Eric. Dude, the best move Washington has made is Eric Bieniemy. The best move. Before I bring Gary Cobb in here, I want to set this up for G Cobb. And this is my takeaway on the draft, and I want to get his in a second here. And I started my program off on this. I think Howie and his staff and his pro and college personnel people with the DeAndre Swift move, with staying in the big program sandbox, which means better coaching, and every single one of these players the Eagles drafted were in the top 100 ESPN high school prospects. Every one of these kids have been star players their entire careers, no matter what round they went in. I just think they did their homework. They filled needs. They went talent. They got younger, and I think they got more athletic. Let's bring G Cobb in from Fox 29 in Philadelphia. I tell you, I tell people this all the time. This is what you don't want to hear when you're coming off a NFC title or a Super Bowl win. You got here was you got cheaper, more athletic, and younger. And this guy I'm going to start calling him Merlin. Merlin the magician, because he's really had a spectacular offseason. Give me your overall takeaway on what you've seen.
Well, I mean, I think some of it is things broke their way. We know all what's going on with Jalen Carter and the fact that, he made a bad decision. He got involved in a situation. A couple of people died. And so we know what happened there. It wound up working out for the Eagles. And, I mean, you wonder what other people are doing, but the Eagles are in a position where they can take a chance, to try. It's just like, you got a team, they gain 9 yards on first down. It's second down and 1, and, they're going for it all on second down. And you're going like, well, they can afford to because they've gotten things right in a lot of other ways. So they are taking a chance with Jalen Carter, but, you could come out shining because the kid has got amazing talent, and it happened to be at a position which, they just lost a guy which they need to replace him. So, so that worked out for them.
I would throw this at you too. Gary, let me read you this front seven here.
Yeah.
Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis, or Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Hassan Reddick. That's your front seven potentially if these kids come in here and show that they belong in the ability to be able to start. You got younger and more athletic. Now, the question mark is probably this, right? The experience is going to be something that you're going to have to really keep an eye on whether or not the experience factor will play into this.
Correct. And that they've got to develop these kids, but they got the potential. You see things with Carter, which, you don't normally see a big guy moving like that. He also can, he can get low, and, the big guys don't like when you come in and you get that low on the ground when you're coming around. He's got the power where he can be a power guy. Where just, just overpower the guy and push him back in the quarterback space, things like that. And then, the whole thing is, does he live up to his potential though? Because I could see where, they're going to have to keep an eye on him. They're going to have to make sure they're pushing him. But he's in an environment where you got guys you already played with. It's a competitive environment, that's the way you get pushed. That, hey, you want to play? Do you want to get on the field? There are going to be other guys, that are going to be a real good company for him, like Jordan Davis. He and Jordan Davis are going to be in competition somewhat, That's going to be good because Jordan Davis needs to be pushed too. So I think it's just a great environment for all these kids. and they know something about that, which is this is not something that's new to them, to be in an environment where you got other great players. And if you don't step it up, those guys are going to be playing and you'll be sitting over there on the oak.
Gary, don't you agree, too, that Tracy Rocker, who recruited these kids and drafted these kids, I mean, here's the advantage that you have with that. As you and I know, when you go from the college ranks to the pro ranks, you don't know your position coach. Yeah. You don't know anything about the guy. This coach knows your pluses, your negatives, your weaknesses, what you do, what you can't do.
Yeah.
Don't you think that really played a factor also in Tracy going like this? I've been in their families' homes. Yeah. He could tell these guys this. You need more dedication, because to me, it looks like dedication conversations that you have to have with these guys. And
that's
to
right.
me, who better to have than the guy that brought you into Georgia?
I mean, that's great. That's what you want that, because this is personal. And, you got to get personal with these guys. Say, look, man, you're my man, hey, but I can't do anything for you. You're going to have to earn it on the field. And you got to come in here in better shape. We're expecting you to be able to play, 2-3 downs. Hey, man, you got to be able to give us everything you got. And we can't guarantee you plays. We can't guarantee you plays. Come on, we don't do it like that. You got to go out and earn these plays. And you got other guys you're going to be competing with. And the best man's going to be on the field, and we can't guarantee you anything more than that. But we brought you in here because we think you can shine here. That's why we brought you. We didn't bring you in because we didn't think you could play on this level. But you got to show that to us. And I think all these guys need that kind of environment. It's going to make all of them better. And they're going to be going, understand, they're going against linemen that are not pushovers either. When they do those one-on-one drills, it's fun, man, because they know, hey, this is the best in the league you're going against. So they got to battle those guys. And then you don't want to be going in the film room and going like, what was that?
These are the best people in the world.
That's right. I mean, and you can get embarrassed if you don't come ready to play. And they know this is what they're gonna be facing every day. They got to line up against those guys, and so that's what makes you better, though.
How
when
about this?
When you get pushed like that.
How about this on the offensive side? Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens, Kelsey, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, DeAndre Swift now's been added.
I know.
Jalen Hurts. This is like a roster for the NFC Pro Bowl.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, because really, look how many guys. They had guys that really were Pro Bowl level players, didn't make it last year. Dallas. When Goddard played, come on, he played at a Pro Bowl level. He just got hurt, and that's the reason why he didn't make it. But you see, they have a number of guys that are on this team like that, and so they've got a good environment where you got good competitive, type of they had the same kind of atmosphere at Georgia, because that's where you win when you got this high competition going on in practice. That's the way you win, and so these guys are used to that, and so I'm gonna stand over on the side and want to check it out. And I could crack some jokes when we get in the locker room, because somebody gets embarrassed. Hey man, whoa, it's a tough day out there for such and such, man. Wow, boy, you had a tough day out there today, man.
Hey, Gary, this is going to mean a lot more in practice there in the NovaCare Center. Hey, this ain't Georgia anymore.
That's right. Right. Oh, boy, hey, you dig them with that. Yeah, man, this ain't Georgia no more, man. Woo. Man, it's tough out there, man. Are you all right? Are you all right, man? You okay?
Hey, you ain't playing Vandy anymore, son.
That's right. That's right, man. And,
you got to get out there and play your ass off. Hey, man,
right.
This general manager, I'm conflicted on him at times. But, boy, I'll tell you what. Between the contract, Kelsey back, the corners back, you got to put everything into perspective on what this dude has done here, man. Plus the drafting and how smart it was, how calculated it was. I mean, this guy's had, in my opinion, Gary, I think he's had a better offseason this year than when he had last year when he constructed the NFC champion football team. I mean, it just seems, at least, and I know they got to play,
Yeah.
Give me your takeaway with this guy, because
Well,
I'm conflicted with him at times.
Well, I tell you, I see things happening with Howie where I think he's just getting smarter, and he's keeping himself where he's leaning on people that he knows have more expertise in certain areas, maybe in the drafting area with picking that player, going like, okay, I'm going to go with you guys. I'm going to put the right people in here. I want you to tell me which way we need to go here. Now, when it comes to making the moves and different things like that, he's always had a great, really, it just seemed like a good flow, especially with his relationship with the other guys in the league, where he can call and work out a deal with a guy, and, whatever, the guy doesn't feel that bad. He just got taken to the cleaners. I don't know what he's telling them. Maybe he's sending, there's some gifts or something. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he got these great cards or something. He's saying, hey, man, I like doing business with you. But he does a great job. And then also with the agent, where he does a good job. Now, the way he structured the Jalen's contract, where it's really friendly to the Eagles and what they want to do for the next few years. Things like that. You don't see other GMs do a good job with that. They go ahead and they like, how many guys are packed back up in the corner where they got to start letting people go? I mean,
the Giants.
Look at the Giants did last year. You just let a guy walk. That a GM should almost be fired if he does that, because
anybody who puts those deals together and doesn't duplicate what the Jalen Hurts contract looks like is doing their organization an absolute disservice. I mean, how about the Swift move? I tell you, I almost fell off my chair.
What are the Lions doing?
Dude, hey, Gary, he to me is a modern day Le'Veon Bell. He reminds me of the pass catching guy who can run in between the tackles. Yeah. And this is the kind of guy that they coveted. They tried to get Christian McCaffrey. They wanted to get Bijan. So what did they do? They got Bijan 2.0.
That's right.
And Swift, I mean, I get this. If he walks, they get a 4th rounder from Detroit.
That's right. I mean, come on. And the Lions, what exactly are you doing? I mean, you got a legitimate weapon there, but you got all these holes other places, but you're here stocking up on running backs. I'm going like, are these guys kidding? And then they just, hand this guy to the Eagles. Of course, it's great for them, but you just look at the Lions and you said, I mean, I know you guys are trying to get better, but, you did not need to get, another running back at the number 12 pick.
Overdrafted.
All the holes they draft a running back.
Then they get a linebacker later, the kid Campbell, who's a 2nd rounder. You're sitting there going like this. I mean, dude, there were so many more players that you could have drafted effectively there.
Yeah.
But they went linebacker, then they went running back. And on top of that, Gary, he's the 2nd running back in the draft. I mean, who would have thought running backs would have been taken before wide receivers in any draft in today's NFL? Not like you or I, when running backs went all the time. Wide receivers go all the time, and 2 RBs went before wide receivers.
I mean, it's a passing league. Do they get it? It's a passing league. Like, what are you doing? I mean,
are they the team to beat, in your opinion, now in the NFC?
Well, the way things stack up right now, but of course, things happen.
Yep.
So when you have young kids, you do need to keep an eye on them. You just want these guys to let all the news happen on the field, because
are you concerned about the I brought this up in the first hour. To me, it looks like a dedication. Are you going to be dedicated to being a pro ball player and doing the work? And get this, it takes no athleticism. It takes dedication.
That's right.
Your dedication to be the best you could possibly be.
That's
when you're at a place like Georgia, Gary, when you could kill everybody, and you're the overpowering favorites, and you don't really have to do the little things, you just overpower folks. But when you get to the NFL, those little things all matter.
Yeah, because you're not pushed to the limit. See, you got, you're better. You haven't really expended everything. But on this level, if you want to be the best, you're going to have to give it all out there, man. So that is going to be what we see. I mean, are they going to have the type of dedication And then they don't need the nonsense off the field. You don't need to be getting in trouble. You need, and you need to be focused on football, meaning that you got to spend that time looking at what these guys like to do out of different formations. You got to be smarter because you're not going to see the same thing from week to week. And you're going to see where you've got to learn these teams and what they like to do, the guys blocking you. Can you see anything in their stance? Are they telling you anything? You got to go in there and really work if you want to be exceptional. And you also have got to be in great condition. That's something with Jordan Davis. Coming back this year, hey, Jordan, man, you got to drop off maybe 10, 15, 20 pounds, whatever it is, because we need you to play. We can't have you patting your head after every play. You got to be in there, man, because this is pro ball. This is not you guys beating up on guys for most of the season. No, you got to be in there, and we need you to be out there and play. And so that's why both of those guys, they're going to have to be, both Jalen and Jordan, these guys have got to be in shape because they're big and, they haven't really been pushed to the limit where they got to be in the kind of shape where, look, suck it up, and if you're in good shape, you bounce back. You always bounce back if you got that kind of conditioning. So that's what it's going to be really for these guys. Now, they're going to all be together, and sometimes it's going to be good when they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Well, where we say, hey, what you got really kind of took Jalen to school there. Maybe they run in, they're playing the Cowboys. And, Big Martin down there, he takes the kid to school. Hey, welcome to the NFL. And that's in a way, it's going to be good for him because it's going to see what this level is all about and push them. And they're really going to just push him into being a better player.
Hey, Gary, I tell people my first time I'm playing against the Bears and I'm playing against Tom Thayer and them guys, this was 87. And I remember I didn't get my head front side minus. A guy slipped me minus. I'm going, holy shit, these plays are going so fast. I looked up, I had 4 minuses already, and I'm like, holy shit, I hadn't had 4 minuses all year. Yeah. And you're just going, it was all technique, and these guys knowing where to go. That's all angle stuff. It's not overpowering. It's overwhelming. You know what I mean? It's just overwhelming at times.
Well, and this is what these guys really, it's going to be fortunate because they haven't been pushed like this, like when I was in college, really, we weren't always pushed because we had the better team.
You played at Southern Cal. I played at Miami, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, so when you get to the pros, it's almost good. You've got this other level. You see these people, you're saying, you know what? I got to go to work. I'm going to have to get better. I got to stay out here. I'm out, you're out there working on some drill after practice, because you got to make sure you get this thing right. And then the mental part of the game, it's more of a mental game too, on the pro level. And These are all the type of things they're going to have to get used to, see?
Absolutely. Gary, thank you so much, my friend.
All right.
Appreciate it. Gary Cobb, Fox 29, Philadelphia, former Eagle himself. I'm going to tell you this one more time here. Don't let the off the field with not being dedicated be the factor on why you're not being productive. I guarantee, I feel, why I feel more confident that Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are going to be forces in the NFL because they have a coach who knows them, been around them, has coached them when they were younger, knows all the positives and negatives, and is going to put these kids in positions to succeed. They're not walking in to the Philadelphia Eagles not knowing who their defensive line coach is. They know exactly. And don't think when all of a sudden it came down for the Eagles to make a decision on Carter, that Tracy Rocker's voice wasn't heard. How about when they interviewed the defensive coordinator for the Georgia Bulldogs? And they were talking about the talent that he had on the team. You think that, by the way, defensive coordinator is talking, hey, and you know what's crazy about some of the people in the media? Some of the people in the media think this is talking shit on Jalen Carter. Hey, man, the kid's got to work harder at times. He's got to study more. And he's got to be a little bit more dedicated in doing some of the littler things and practice a little bit harder. How many people take that as shit talking? I don't. That sounded like Jerome Brown to me. That sounded like Jerome. See, look at how the media, because they've never been on a football field and never been coached before, takes that as negative. Me, I take that as positive. Sileo, you got to work harder. You got to study more. You got to watch more game film. You got to practice harder, son. Yes, sir. I take that as a compliment that I need. He's showing me all the things I need to do to get better as a football player. But yet media people, if you talk to them like that, they think you're talking shit to the kid or talking shit to them. That would be talking shit to them. Why? Because they've never competed for anything. Remember, when people rip other people like Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis, most of the time those people don't have legacies. So it's easy to rip people who don't have a leg. For people to rip that don't have legacies, it's easy to rip him. You see, they look at Jalen Carter in those conversations as being negative. I don't. How are you going to get better? Being lied to, like many people in the world like to be? Remember, I told you, most people would rather have lies told to them than the truth. Most people would rather be lied to. Football coaches who love their players don't lie to them. Son, you got to work harder. Son, you can't be what you're doing right now if you want to get to the elite status of what you want to be. You want to be Fletcher Cox? You can't just sit around on your athleticism. You got to be better than that. That's good coaching. That's not shit talking. And to me, when you have a coach like Rocker, he has already a built-in relationship with these men, including N'Kobe. He's got a built-in relationship. And why is that important? Well, if you're going to be constructive to somebody, know them personally. You know, how many times do you get into your business place where you work or where you are in your life, and someone just starts talking shit to you, and you have no idea who he is? And you look at that guy and you call him an asshole. And you're just like, bro, this guy's an asshole. Or how many times have you were in a place of business that a guy does everything in his power to make you successful, helps you? At times it can be a little hard love, but that guy comes from a place of wanting to see you win and see you succeed. That's good coaching to me. I can't believe most people don't like that. I can't believe that, but it's true. Most people can't handle that kind of conversation. That's why most people can't play competitive sports. That's why most people can't go in the military. Because you get truth told to you there. Only way you can get better is being told the truth, not a bag of lies. Let's take a time out. We're going to look at the NFL draft. Also, kind of a quick look at the 2024 dudes. Also, the NFC East. We'll do that next, the NFC East and how well they did in the draft. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Stills National Football Show. Appreciate you coming aboard. Just been a great offseason. Better. How about this? Better all season in Kansas City, yes. Look at the shit that's going on right now in Los Angeles with Herbert. They're picking his option up because the Spanoses are so freaking cheap and not cutting a deal. Watch Mike Brown do the same shit. That shows you the relationships and how they look at those players. I know that Jalen didn't have. It's funny. I wonder if Jalen did have that 5th-year option, if the Eagles would have picked it up. You guys think the Eagles would have picked up that option, or do you think they would have cut a new deal? What do you think the Eagles would have done if he had the opportunity? Obviously, if you're not in the first round, you don't have that 5th-year option. And that is really it. Look at the advantage that Jalen Hurts had. That's one of the few advantages he had not being a first rounder, is the fact that he didn't have that 5th-year option. Tone thinks that the Eagles would have picked the option up. I don't know, man. Maybe. Okay. That's right. Yale's right. They went to the Super Bowl, though, dude. A little different than just getting beat by the Jags. I get Herbert's great, but so maybe if Hurts doesn't get the team to the Super Bowl, maybe they pick the object, the option up, maybe. Okay, probably. But I think he got the team to the Super Bowl. I don't know. The way they're acting with this guy, you think they would have any different opinion of him if he had been a first rounder today? No way. I think they would have went ahead and given him a contract. I do, man. I think they love this guy. I think the owner especially. I think the owner especially loves Jalen Hurts. I do. I think those other people are businessmen, and they're not committed to those guys. And actually, like people are saying up here, I think it's insulting. I think it's absolutely insulting to Justin Herbert and to Joe Burrow. It just looks insulting. Okay, so it is about money. Well, if it's about money, I'm going to take you to the cleaners. How about I make this prediction to you about Joe Burrow? Not a chance in hell that guy plays his entire career in Cincinnati. There is no chance. There is a phenomenal chance that Jalen Hurts plays his entire career in Philly, and the guy in Kansas City plays his entire career in Kansas City. I think that's very possible. That there's more likelihood of that and that Burrow and Herbert are playing somewhere else. Because if I'm Joe Burrow, man, you could franchise tag me all you want. As soon as I have the ability, I think you can only do it 2 years in a row. I'm getting the F out of there. And I want an organization like the Eagles building teams around me and not nickel and diming me and being creative and having a general manager and an owner that has the insight to want to win. Here, look, I mean, think about it. How many people believe that the Eagles want to win a Super Bowl every year? Does that owner want to win? Yes. Do you think Cincinnati fell into Joe Burrow? Kind of. I think Bob Kraft wants to win every year. Do you think Chicago and the McCaskies want to win every year? I don't. I think the Steelers want to win every year. I think the 49ers, the DeBartolos and New Yorks want to win. Denver, it'll be interesting to see the new ownership. I don't think the Spanoses want to win every year. You know why the Spanoses don't go to Super Bowls with all those great quarterbacks they've had? They don't want to. The Chargers don't want to go to the Super Bowl. Hence the fact they don't even own their own stadium. They're not even partners with anybody. They're renters. They don't have a share like the Jets do in MetLife Stadium. The Jets and the Giants share that. Stan Kroenke owns SoFi. He stroked the check himself with the Walmart money. Do the Cowboys want to win? Do you really think, Danny? Danny, okay, the Cowboys want to win, but do you think they want to win Super Bowls? Or is it more important for Jerry to be the number one most watched television show every year? What's more important to him? Being his Dallas Cowboys the number one watched TV show? Or do you think it's really about winning Super Bowls? I think the star on the helmet is appropriate in Dallas. Okay? I think it's about the star on the helmet. You're a TV star. You're not a Super Bowl star. They don't play for Super Bowls. They don't even play for conference championships. I mean, it's about branding. They care about branding. And if the Super Bowl comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it's no loss to them. Okay? Philadelphia, the best thing to happen to you is you fight for your relevancy. That's a good thing. You know why you're always pissed off at Boston, Chicago? You're not pissed off at LA because you know they're nobodies. Okay? But you know why you're pissed off at Dallas all the time? Because Dallas does less than you and gets more rewarded by people's admiration for them than you. And you're more successful. And it aggravates you. To me, I think that's a good thing. Fighting for your relevancy versus expecting it is why you win more than they do. I'd rather have a person that's in a land of desperation, having to feed his family, than a guy that has things handed to him. Okay? Fighting for something, you have an attitude about it. Expecting it to be given to you is complacency. And the Cowboys are like, I call them the Dallas Chernobyls. And that's who they are. That's who the Cowboys are. Will always be, as long as Jones owns the team. And you know, I love those guys. They can't get out of their own way. Mozzie Smith. Let me take a look at this as we're here at the top of the hour here. Cowboys, solid. DT, tight end. Linebacker, edge, OT. Corner, they dressed it with Stephon Gilmore. Running back, wide receiver. Okay, all needs. But at the end of the day, Mozzie Smith is a third-round DT. So you drafted a nose tackle at 26. You could have got him in the second round. You could have got that guy in the second round. You overdrafted him. The Giants, corner, center, they just lost a kid, I think, to the Raiders. Wide receiver, running back, DB, you let Bradbury go. DT, more depth there behind Lawrence, okay? And safety. Thought the Giants were okay. I thought they did well on every day. I did. I thought they did well. Okay. Cowboy fans were pissed about the tight end draft pick. They didn't believe in the prospect. Always great on a Monday to hear dumb shit like that. How can you not know if this kid's going to be good or not on a Monday when he doesn't even own a freaking helmet? He doesn't even have a locker yet. Well, I'm upset. Oh, it's like the Hurts. It's like the Hurts draft pick, you mean, right? So Cowboy fans don't like the tight end on a Monday, May 1st. Like the Eagles didn't like Jalen Hurts in the second round a couple of years ago. Okay. Why don't you give it a chance to play out? I mean, you're on a Monday talking shit on a tight end who doesn't even own an NFL helmet yet. Relax. Let's see how it works. Let's see if hey, thank God people didn't have that same attitude towards Jason Kelce, who was a late round draft choice, or Tom Brady, where we would never have seen the greatness of those two players. Let it play out. Let it play out. Washington, B-ish, corner, DB, center, OT. You notice where I am? There's no names. I don't give a shit about the names. I want to know about addressing needs. I don't care about names. Dallas, DT, tight end, linebacker, edge on the other side. Oh, you lost Randy Gregory 2 years ago, who went to Denver. You didn't replace it. Okay. OT, corner, more depth. Giants, corner. Giants have struggled at corner. Center, wide receiver, RB, DB, DT, safety. Sounds right. All needs. Washington. And by the way, DeAndre Hopkins is going to change somebody's roster too. Have that out there. That DeAndre Hopkins is going to change somebody's roster. There's players that are still out there that could change somebody's roster. He's one of them. Okay? Someone's going to restructure that contract of that guy's deal. He ain't playing in Arizona. Played for Jonathan Gannon. I'd rather play for Dave Chappelle. Washington, corner, DB, center, OT. Yeah. Edge, RB. Still, the quarterback situation has to be resolved. Sam Howell, so you figure you're going into, is Jacoby Brissett there? Right? Is Brissett there? Brissett's your starter. It's not Howell. So Brissett's there. He's not bad. They address needs. I don't know. I think the division was solid in the draft on 3 days. Okay. The Eagles were great. Addressed the needs. We're in the right sandboxes. The Giants addressed all their needs. Washington, again, the quarterback scenario has to be resolved. I think the division did pretty well. Okay? And I would put it to you this way. Is there a better division in the NFC? I think the North got better. Now, I do think Green Bay is going to be in last place. I think Chicago got better. I think Minnesota offseason has been pretty good. And I do think Brian Flores is going to bring a lot to that defensive side of the ball. It'll be aggressive. They'll play great in the corner. They'll play press zone, a lot of press and zone and disguise coverages. So Minnesota's going to be better on that side of the ball. Detroit's going to win that division. The West, I think Seattle had a hell of a draft. I think Seattle's getting – dude, they have – I never thought I'd say this. I thought they were going to be in purgatory for years after the Russell Wilson deal. They're better off without him. They're better. They're better now today than they were this time last year. And they're getting better. Seattle's getting better. And Pete's gonna do something that Bill Belichick's not gonna do. You know what that is? He's gonna leave Seattle in a good place when he retires. Belichick will leave New England in ruin. You watch. Drafting punters and kickers. Come on, dude. I mean, I'm going to tell you flat out. I know some of you won't agree with me. That guy, Matt Araiza, okay, I would bring him in and sign him to a free agent contract because of the culture I have in Philadelphia. That would put the cherry on top of the entire offseason. You'd have a game-changing football player that could change your field position in one play. He could be as important as your quarterback because he's that good. And by the way, from what I understand, the judge released all the videotape, and nowhere in those videotapes of that unfortunate situation with that girl was he in any of them. And he unsealed it. There's nowhere in the videos that he's involved in this. And charges were dropped. And basically, okay, I mean, it's more of an impression than it is factual. So to me, I think the Eagles are a perfect organization to bring that guy in. Because at the end of the day, you brought Vic in. You're taking a chance on Jalen Carter, albeit way different of a situation. But in Jalen Carter's situation, one guy did die, or two people did die. Okay? Hey, and know this too. That punter from San Diego State, Matt Araiza, the athletic director, J.D. Wicker, and the head coach were not fired for playing him during the season because he had told them the whole time, I wasn't involved in this. Fortunately, I knew about it. So if you're good with that, this guy's like Ray Guy or like Reggie Roby. He's like one of them guys. So I don't know, man. I mean, I think somebody's going to give him an opportunity. Why not you? You put a guy like that on your team, he improves your special teams, which you're shitty at already. You got a punter who's a shank wagon. You put this guy in there, this guy's going to punt 55 to 60 yards a punt. You're down on your 10. You have a 3 and out with a young, inexperienced defense. Guy changes field position with one play on you, pins that team back in the 5-yard line. Don't you want that on your team? You're not going to win championships with choir boys. I don't want hemorrhoids on my team either. I get that. And the only reason that I'm saying this about Matt Araiza is this. The way they do their homework on players, okay, I would totally trust in what their process is. I would trust their process. Okay? So, and Mr. Credit goes, I hate the fact that an unproven allegation could take everything from you. Hey, Mr. Credit, how you don't know how that is the truth. Somebody can make something up about you and say something about you that is so untrue and nowhere close. And it could take everything from you, including 27 years of hard work and reputation on building something because somebody said something or maybe misspoke. You're right. You're right. I got to take a time out. I want to look at the draft. Okay? We didn't really get a great chance to look at it on Thursday of last week. I want to do that. Also, kind of a look and resetting a little bit of what went on over the weekend and a future look, 2024 dudes and where they're lining up. We'll do all that last hour of the program, the Power Hour. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
I hope you'll indulge me here for a little bit. Please hit the like button. Thank you guys so much for coming aboard on this Monday. Buccaneers watch the show. And I want to send out a lot of love to our friends at the Buccaneers, especially Shaq Barrett and his family. His daughter drowned over the weekend. I know Shaq. And Bruce Arians called me and told me, he goes, man, we're just devastated by the news. And I was like, I can't send him a text because no text meant you can't text something like, hey, my condolences. What are you going to, that's so inappropriate. I couldn't text him. I just couldn't. I got to let it settle a little more because I wouldn't want anyone sending me that text. You couldn't. Man, it just makes me think of Kobe and how short life is. If somebody took my daughter away from me, my wife's going to pick her up at college today. And I wanted to be here with you guys. And my daughter's on her way home. She knows my job and all that. You know, you don't know when life was taken from you. Good people. Shaq Barrett and his family are great people. Do a lot of stuff in the community with the Glazers. I mean, this is more about being a dad or a mom, you know? When you lose somebody you love like that, whew. I went to bed last night. You know, I was talking to Bruce Arians for about 30 minutes. I'm like, man, if I put my hand on my pillow, I don't know if I'd wake up in the morning. My kid wasn't around. Something happened to her. I'm not sure I'd want to go on, let alone play football. You just never know. So when you're around the ones you love, make sure you give them a hug. I told you this before. One of the cool things that Kobe did for me, I have more respect for Kobe in his passing. I saw what kind of dad he was. He was a girl dad. And I kind of see myself like that now. Not trying to be sappy or anything with you, but man, I couldn't imagine losing my daughter. I just couldn't. I don't know if I'd want to live. I don't think I would want to. Isn't that crazy how kids make you so vulnerable like that? I never, when you're an athlete, you're invincible. You're by yourself. You don't give a shit about anything around you. And when you get a family, they make you vulnerable. They make you vulnerable. That's the only thing and the only setback about me. And as I've gone older and I have my family, I know some of you probably are going to be stunned, but I've been married for 37 years. And ups and downs, good, bad, what have you. Beautiful daughter, smart as hell, special kid. Oh my God, A student, all this. Captain of a rugby team. Just makes you vulnerable, man. Takes your breath away. Dude, me, Big Sills, putting his head on his pillow, and your kid's 400 miles away from you. And you're like, trust me, you have to know. Okay? I know some of you are probably going, 37 years? Well, let me see. Hang on. Told you this before. They're home, or like they listen to me on this thing now. And, let me see here. Hold on. 1988. 35 years. Been married 35 years. Seems like 105. Yes, Neil. Met her in Dallas. Hey, Joseph, who said she hasn't? Hey, Joseph, just so you know, I'll give you a real quick one here before we move on. Just so you know this, I was eating the last few things in the cabinet before everything came back. Hey, my God, I was eating cornbread with no egg in it. That's enough, I'll say. Oh. What about our new DCOC, Sills? How he did his job? Great players need to prove out, of course. Pressure's now on the new coach. His thoughts on Matt Patricia. I think Matt Patricia is going to be a great hire, and I'll tell you why, Scott. Multiple defensive looks, 34-43 bear look, 5 front. Disguises, that's his forte. He's going to be able to disguise the secondary a lot better. Okay. My 15-year-old daughter just informed she's interested in a boy. Okay, well, here's what you do. Chris, get a gun rack. Put the gun rack up over the couch. Have the kid sit down. And you just keep looking up at the gun rack. Follow me. Trust me, it works. Okay? And what you do is you go like this. And the kid's eventually going to go, Mr. Sileo, is that a gun rack? And you go, yeah, it's a gun rack. And you go like this to the guy. And he ends up going, well, where's the gun? You know, that's for you and me to decide. That's for you and me to decide. Okay? Just remember that. Okay, kid. So when you're in that sphere, that's for you to figure it out. Okay? Let me write this down here. This is somebody at the NovaCare. Okay, good. So they liked what I said about Jalen Carter. Let's reset here. We're going to look at the draft. We're going to look at the 2024. We opened the program out with this. I love the draft picks. I think they did a whale of a job. I think there was a lot of due diligence in what they did. I think everything that you're talking about with Howie and his staff, kudos to them. I think they really did a spectacular job when it comes to how they looked at each and every single one of these prospects. Great coaching, great conference, played against big-time opponents, did their homework. And get this, not only did they not – I want to show you something here. Okay? I want to show you something here. Not only did they not worry about Jalen Carter's character, they moved up for his character. They moved up to get him. Do you understand? They moved up to get him. That, to me, tells me that there were no issues. That's why when you got a media guy that's sitting there and he's sitting there and questioning whether or not the kid is contrite on what happened in that car race, the Eagles were offended. They were offended by that guy for asking that question. Because their actions should tell you, how would a guy that covers the Philadelphia Eagles and the media, dude, how would he possibly know on the hard work and all the hours of due diligence and people in investigating and talking that they have done? Hey, and sometimes just because a kid gets in front of a microphone and you don't like the response, that's not indicative of who that kid is. How many times have we seen bullshit artists get in front of a microphone and you find out that that person's not really who that person is? So you went by one couple comments, and some people went by one comment, or the way he delivered his answer to you wasn't good enough. I'm afraid to tell you this. I'm not even going to mention the guy's name, but at the end of the day, I don't give a shit if you believe me or not, dude. The only people that matter are first to me, then my teammates, and most importantly to my family. I don't owe you shit. This is why sometimes I tell kids, hey, these media people are not your friends. They lie to you. Media people lie. They lie. They're professional liars. There's only two other people that lie more than media people: strippers and politicians. Okay? But at least the stripper's doing it to make money. The politician lies to you and tells you he's going to make your community better for 100 years and doesn't do shit once he gets your vote. That's on both sides. Okay? These guys are not honest folks. Because they're going to go on shows or write columns and rip you. Hey, in a perfect world, wouldn't it be great if everyone just told the truth? That doesn't sell newspapers. That's Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is the most boringest superstar I've ever met. Nobody covers Tim Duncan because Tim Duncan doesn't give him anything. That's the coolest thing about Duncan. More accomplished than Shaq. More titles than Shaq. You'd never know it, though. Duncan never let you in. Okay? Never let you in. So what you do is you protect yourself. And you know what you do? You give him Bill Belichick answers. Hey, man, we're on to the Giants. Hey, what about that situation that happened with you at Georgia? Hey, I'm here in Philly now. That stuff's behind me, and I'm not looking backwards. And if, it's where I'm at. Don't give him anything. And I've learned one thing. The less you say, the better off it is at the end of the day. And get this, it pisses them off more at the end of the day than what it does when we're talking about that kind of stuff. They're looking for him. So the Eagles PR department has to do their very best. Because you know what Jordan Davis is going to get this offseason, getting in the training camp? Hey, Jalen Carter was drafted. Is that a testament to your failure last year? Jordan Davis didn't fail last year. He just didn't live up to what that 13th pick was. Look at me defending him now. I'm defending him. I'm defending Jordan because you know why? Hey, just because he didn't have a great rookie year, the kid's got great potential. He's going to be a good football player, and he's going to be a fixture in your D-line. Let this damn thing grow a little bit more. Okay? Let it grow a bit. Let's see it all working together here. Ruben Frank total has horrible takes on pretty much everything. I challenged him on a point he was making on Twitter, and he just blocked me. Hey, remember something, 4-1-3-3. Anytime, I love to have conversations with people as long as it doesn't get personal. And when you my daughter told me this, when you make a statement like that, be prepared to have it challenged. You just can't make a broad stroke like that I didn't like the way you answered the question on the people dying in that car wreck. Who are you, guy? You're not NFL security. You're not the Eagles. Who are you to make? And that's not doing your job. That's a setup. That guy was setting that kid up on the best day of his life. It's a setup. That's what we call a setup. Hey, that question at training camp or mini camp is an appropriate question. It's the timing of it. You thought you'd be the only jackass in the building and the only dickhead in the media pool to ask that question. And it wasn't like this. How do you feel about the Eagles taking a chance on you after the unfortunate situation that happened with the car wreck and the people that were in the Georgia program? It was more this. I don't really feel that you really gave us a good answer, or I didn't feel comfortable with I'm paraphrasing, with the way you answered the question. Who are you? That's putting yourself into a story. That's journalism 101. That you don't do that shit. Make yourself part of the story. Anytime you become part of the story, that's the ultimate non-journalistic move. And then you have the audacity to call me a shock jock. Hey, I know who I am. I ain't no journalist. I have no intention of ever being called that. No one has ever confused me for that. But you try confusing others that you are. That's a piece of shit move. It is. I don't think any of the Georgia guys will bust because they will be accountable to each other and push each other to succeed. We'll see. That's what you're hoping for, Anton. The whole never completed thing with thin skin. Okay? Jalen's hands were tied behind his back. He can't talk about it, and wisely so. Right. Blow it off. Blow him off. I wouldn't give him access. You know what I wouldn't do? You know what's funny? But the people that know me from years ago are shocked that I'm in this business because, as you can imagine, I was a pretty big dickhead to the media, and I was. And for me to be on this side of the mic, I've been on both sides of the mic, and for me to be here, it's kind of funny because I gave you nothing, and I talk shit, and I posted something on Twitter where Rick Riley accused me of inciting a riot. And I was that guy, man. I used to light flames to the Miami Hurricane outlaw image. I was the flamethrower for it, Jerome and I were the flamethrowers for that reputation, and we loved it. And I did everything I could to make sure that thing was known fully well that we were out there doing that. And Neil goes, nah, you. All right, let's take a look. Enough backslapping here. As my grandfather would say, enough horn blowing. My son played rugby for 4 years at Montana State. Learned the game. And men and women players, your daughter is a tough kid, good sport. Hey, Scott, I love this thing. I love rugby. I really do. I am a huge fan of it now, man. Huge fan of it. Let me give you a real quick look at the 2024 draft. Here, I wrote down top 10. And here's some of the players. Let's go from 10 up. I think you guys are going to love this. 10th player being evaluated. Who do you think the 10th player in the country is? Who do you think the 10th player in the country, as of today, for the 2024 draft? Who do you think he is? Wait till you hear this name. Okay. Oh, I'd love to have Jordan Mailata. Jordan Mailata, man, rugby superstar. Guess who the 10th player, as of today, the evaluation for next year's draft? You ready? Broke his collarbone. Sydney, you ready? My daughter broke her collarbone her junior year in high school. Howie Roseman, you got it. Jeremiah Trotter, linebacker, Clemson, is the 10th best prospect in the upcoming NFL draft. Jeremiah Trotter, man, that guy brought the wood in Philly. That guy was a hell of a player. A hell of a football player, Jeremiah Trotter. Well, I've been watching Junior, and Junior can play. I'm a fan of that kid, man. Junior can play. Number 9, Ohio State has 2 edge rushers that are going to go in the top 10. 2 edge rushers. Emeka Ibuka, edge rusher, Ohio State. Watch him this coming season. Whew. I'll tell you something, man. The Buckeyes put these guys, these D-line and O-linemen, into the NFL. They recruit like they're Southeastern Conference teams. They can play, man. Penn State edge rusher has a kid. Fasawa. That kid looks like he's going to be somebody who's going to be a great player. He's ranked number 8. Number 7, Jack Sawyer, edge rusher. Ohio State, another kid. Bunch of good-looking football players, man. I think number 6, Joe Alt, offensive tackle, Notre Dame. Number 5, Jared Verse, edge rusher, FSU. Number 4, Drake May, quarterback, UNC. Number 3, Quinn Ewers, quarterback, Texas. Number 3. Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver, Ohio State. He's the second best prospect. And Caleb Williams, quarterback, USC. Those are your top 10 kids. Those are your top 10 kids that, as of today, it'll probably change. It'll change 100 times before we get to this point next year. All right, let's take a look at the draft and go back into it, especially in the first round. And we'll look at these guys here. I think, again, I told you this. I think you probably had 13 really great players in this, or I should say that, I'll take that back. There were 5 really great players in this draft and 13 really good players that were in this draft here. I think there's some players that really fit the system of where they are right now. Okay. Bryce Young going to Carolina. Who in their right mind really thought that Bryce Young wasn't going to be the number 1 player taken and that they were going to take Will Levis from Kentucky? When you watch this kid, he's the most complete player that's in the draft, and he's the most experienced and the most talented player in the draft. Is his size a problem? Montana's size was a problem. Drew Brees' size was a problem. It never affected them. Because why? They had great coaching. They had Sean Payton. They came up with the 9-step drop. Same thing with Russell Wilson. When you're shorter, take a deeper drop. That's the new fashionable thing that people do now when you're shorter. Instead of taking 7 steps, take a 9. Move them around. Create passing lanes. That's what this kid's going to be great at. And I talked to Frank over the weekend. Frank's going to do that. They're going to boutique a offensive game plan that best fits his system and his formula. Move him around, create passing lanes, slide him to one side of the field, let him manage half the field at first, and then you bring him progressively along. Simple, if you know what you're doing. Some places like Chicago don't know what they're doing. Now, I love what Chicago did. They drafted a lineman. They needed to. Protecting Justin Fields. We'll get to that in a minute here. C.J. Stroud. I was taken by the way that, he accepted the fact Houston brought him in. He was emotional about it. I think you got a hard worker here. I'm pulling for the kid. These Ohio State guys don't pan out. But at the end of the day, I got to tell you, I was taken by the guy. I watched him get drafted. He's like first impressions of situations like that. And you turn around and you look and you're really interested in what you see with the kid. And then you turn around and you go like this. I really liked what I saw with the guy. And I love the fact that he wanted to be a Houston Texan and wanted to play in the NFL. And so I dug it. Houston turns around and does what? You get 2 generational football players potentially that are in a conversation that could be your benchmark guys for the next decade. And Will Anderson. I think Will Anderson, Jalen Carter are your 2 best football players in this draft. I think Will is a great football prospect. I compared him to Cornelius Bennett. I think he has all the makings of being somebody very special. And if you you went to me and you went, Sills, Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, I would have went okay. And what I mean by that is you take one, I'll take the other. I have no problem with that. Those 2 guys were the best complete players in the draft. Okay? They were. It went to big programs, played in big conferences. It got the best coaching. Think of that. Those are all the trifectas you want. Great talent, great coaching, great competition. What else do you need? Now it's about player fulfillment. That's what this comes down to now. Fulfilling your destiny. It's got to come to a point where it's not just the Eagles' responsibility. Like Jalen Reagor. Think about Jalen Reagor. And you know what? I probably tell you half the story sometimes, guys. Here's the other end of that. Well, he went to TCU. He played in a passing conference. He showed all the characteristics that you see in a wide receiver, runs in space well, at least in college he did. And so all the things that Howie saw in him were not wrong. Eventually, the players got to fulfill their destiny too, and opportunity. Destiny and opportunity has to all collide with one another. Eagles are opportunists. They give you an opportunity. They give a lot of players opportunities to succeed. Has to come down eventually to player accountability too. Okay? Has to come down to that. And some players fall back on their wallets. Some people can't handle success. Some people don't understand what it's about to be a pro. Some people don't know how to conduct themselves. All those things play a factor in speed bumps on the way to disaster. Dude, do you know how hard it is to fail in the NFL? Massively. Dude, being a success and playing like Barrett, 12 years, bro, that's insane. Nobody plays 12 years unless you know how to get around the room and know the room, know how to conduct yourself, know and have a You know what the greatest thing about what Barrett Brooks did? After starting for so many years, he immediately went into a position where they saw him as a Swiss Army knife kind of guy, and he accepted it. Him accepting that made him a 12-year veteran. 12 years? Nobody, that's 1% of 1%ers. Nobody does that. I told you, man, not even some of the greatest players in the history of the game that have that opportunity to do shit like that. I'm going to take a time out here, okay? We're going to go through the rest of the draft here because I want to get through it. I don't want to take a timeout and then get short with it. So let's do that. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild days.
Score and save in Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Mr. Credit, 3,500 sent me a chat. I would have went on with him. Make sure you tell him that. I would have went on. Hey, Mr. Credit, I'm not the most internet savvy. Just so we can keep it fair here. I'm not the most internet savvy. By the way, I want to quantify something that I said earlier, that I think what the Eagles are doing right now for the last 23 years is more impressive than even what the Patriots are doing. Obviously, the success of the championship speak for itself. My point is that the Patriots are back into the land of Steve Grogan. The Eagles aren't. No matter what the coach is, no matter who the quarterback is, no matter what the roster looks like, they're competitive every year. You're not. Brady made you competitive, which means you found a guy in the 6th round and got lucky. And Belichick looks like the Cleveland Browns Belichick. You draft a kicker and a punter in the draft. Bro, what are you doing? Are you kidding me? Really? You wasted assets on punters and kickers. How ridiculous is that? I mean, now they're talking about shopping Mac Jones. So the Patriots, they were lucky to find Brady. It was like finding baby Jesus in Bethlehem. It's one of. You're back to the Tony Eason. You're back to Tony Eason and Steve Grogan with the horse collar days. Okay? Don't make it sound like that organization. You're the worst team in the AFC East right now. They're the worst team in the AFC East. Dolphins are better. Bills are better. Jets are better. Okay? I mean, end of the day here, I don't know. You think that guy looks like the greatest coach in the history of the National Football League? You think that guy's – how about this? Hey, Yale, if you had to pick a coach, anybody, if you had to pick a coach between Chuck Noll or Bill Belichick, who would you want to have build your team and coach your team? Bill Belichick or Chuck Noll? Who would you want? Who would you take? What coach would you want to have? I'd want Chuck Noll too. Chuck Noll drafted Bradshaw. Chuck Noll drafted Lambert. Chuck Noll drafted Ham. Chuck Noll drafted Mean Joe Green. Chuck Noll drafted Franco Webster and coached him and won 4 titles in 6 years with him. He did that. Okay? He coached that. He developed that. Plus an organization. Bill Belichick looks like, to me, I'm going to say it, I think Bill Belichick is overrated. He's an overrated coach. Okay? I never thought I'd say it. Parcells a better coach than him. If I had to win a 60-minute game, would I take Belichick or Parcells? I'd take Parcells. I think Jimmy Johnson's a better coach than him. Who else? Shit, man. There's a part of me that could say Mike Holmgren is. Andy Reid is. Hey, who's a better coach, Andy Reid or who's a better coach, Andy Reid or Belichick? Who do you think's a better coach? Andy Reid or Belichick? No, I think Andy Reid, man. Cease, that's a great point about Jimmy. You're right. You're right about the cap. And neither did Noel. Okay, fair enough. But I was talking more about coaching talent you drafted. And Bill's got to deal with the cap. It's a point, and you're right. You're not wrong with that point. But I was talking more about coaching and drafting and evaluating. The cap is a factor, so there is a component to that. I agree with you. Okay? Andy Reid, in my opinion, is a better coach. And you know what? 3 years ago, I wouldn't have said that. But there's no question after the divorce. Brady exposed the divorce. Dude, you were so important in my development early, but once I learned the game, you became a hindrance. At the end of it, Belichick probably cost Brady titles because they weren't putting people and the pieces back in the building. He was probably costing them at the end. That's what happens when you stay too long, though. You know, they say they villainize you when you stay too long. And, you know, it's kind of what's happened here. He stayed too long because he's chasing down the Don Shula record. He wants that Don Shula record. Bill Belichick's not trying to win another Super Bowl. He wants the Don Shula all-time wins record. When at the end of the day, does that really matter? Dude, you're the all-time winningest Super Bowl coach. You dominate in the postseason. You won all those games. You even have 2 championship rings as the Giant DC. Is it much of an ego thing for you that you have to pass Don Shula? Really? I think about that. He's going to stay too long to try to he's at least 3 years away from breaking Shula's record. So do you really think Bob Kraft's going to let him be around for 3 more years to chase that record down? Whew, man, I don't know. I mean, if you're Bob Kraft, it's got to get to a point where enough. All right. We talked about Bryce Young going to Carolina, CJ going to Houston, Will going to Houston. Anthony Richardson, it makes sense going to Indy. How many people look at this guy who played 13 ball games and you went, man, this guy here, what a superstar player. I actually heard people saying this guy's a freak, he's a this and that. And I'm like, what did he do in college that made you go, wow, that guy's really great? What did you see? What are you seeing in Anthony Richardson that is a wow factor? Yeah, well, I think it's going to be Mike Vrabel taking over. Anthony Richardson? Boy, I'll tell you, these 2 coordinators that were in Philly last year, they got big mountains to climb, dude. They got big mountains to climb. Anthony Richardson's your quarterback and Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's your quarterback, Jonathan Gannon in Arizona with 2 shitty owners. I can't, I don't know. I mean, right? I don't know, man. I just like, I don't know. I don't see it. Devon Witherspoon, my favorite football player in the draft. I love this kid. Look at look at Lovie Smith's defensive backs that got drafted in this draft. I love the kid Witherspoon. And he goes to Seattle. Seattle's the thing that changed up the See, I thought Jalen Carter was going to go to Seattle. And Seattle took him off the board. Now, Witherspoon's going to be a good player, I believe. But if I'm Pete, I'm taking Carter over him. So get this. Seattle took the lesser defensive player. Okay, I guess. Was Witherspoon overdrafted? Kind of. I mean, he's outside the top 10 or outside the top 5 guys. Okay. Paris Johnson, he's one of the sandbox guys. Goes to Arizona. It's a smart pick. Something Arizona's not known for, being smart. Well, this is a smart pick for them. Tyree Wilson, one of the sandbox guys. And when I say that, one of the 5 impact guys in the draft. He's one of them. Goes to Vegas, edge rusher. Here's the problem with the Raiders, though. That coach is not a head coach. Let's be real here. Josh McDaniels, come on, dog. This is the second go-around. I don't see it. I don't think he has a good culture. I don't think he's a good coach. I just don't see it. And the Raiders have been what? As bad as the Raiders have been in personnel, you hire a guy off the NFL Network to be your coordinator. Think about the Raiders for a second. You hired a guy to be your head coach who had been away from the game out of the TV booth. Then you hired a general manager who was in the TV booth with the NFL Network as an analyst for drafting and worked the Notre Dame games. So you hired 2 dudes off the television set to run your organization. You hired Mike Mayock and John Gruden, who had been away from the NFL. And Gruden, you talk about overrated? This guy's like 2 or 3 games over 500. I don't know. I think John Gruden is okay. I don't think John Gruden. I mean, when I look at him and look at John Gruden, I look at John Gruden and go like this. You think that guy's a better coach than Pete Carroll? I don't see, and he's too complicated in his systems. Okay? Yeah, being a GM is a hard job. Right. Well, what made him qualified for that job? He wasn't what made him qualified? Because he watched TV a lot? What do you think this is like, Days of Thunder? Hey, I could be a good general manager because I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express, and you know what? I watch a lot of it on TV. Tell you what, you pick up a lot of shit on TV. And that's kind of how I learned how to be a GM. I was watching draft day. I've been watching at least 10 drafts on TV. Okay? Hey, I watch a lot of drafts on TV, and I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. I'm qualified now to be the general manager of the Raiders. My point is with the Raiders, they make these Harry Carey type hires. They make these weird hires, and they don't get really good coaches in there. When's the last really great coach that the Raiders have had in the building? Think about it. When is the last really good coach? And I'll show you when they had Art Shell. They fired Art Shell. He was 9-7. The last really good, you could say Del Rio a little bit, but to me, they had last good coach was Art Shell. They were in Los Angeles then. Art was the last good coach that the Raiders had. That's like 20 years ago. When's the last time the Raiders have had a great quarterback? Gannon? Rich Gannon? And he was a journeyman at best. Raiders are not a good organization. It's shit management. The kid is not a good owner. Hey, he did a smart business thing by moving them to Vegas. Kudos. But really, as an organization, you think the Raiders are in a good place? Have the Raiders been in a good place in the last 25 years? I don't think Gruden's a good coach. Bijan goes to Atlanta. We kind of hinted that a little bit on Thursday's show before the draft. It's a good move for them. Desmond Ridder, I don't know. So you get an elite back. Jalen Carter, one of the sandbox guys. Really a great ball player. Chicago gets Darnell Wright. And again, remember something with these O-linemen after Paris Johnson. They're all in the same group. They're all in the same pool, 87.5 rating. Doesn't matter what the name is on the back of the jersey. It doesn't matter. Then it just goes by preference. Skornowski, who I think is not as good as people think he is, went to Tennessee. The Gibbs move is crazy by Detroit. We should have known it then that DeAndre Swift was no longer going to be a Detroit Lion when they drafted Swift or Gibbs. This Lucas Van Ness guy, I'm not a fan of. Broderick Jones, I am. I think that's a total Pittsburgh move. Will McDonald, I think he's overdrafted by the Jets, but the Jets are notorious for that. But I do think Joe Douglas is a good GM. I like the Emmanuel Forbes move by Washington. Christian Gonzalez, New England got a good pick here. This kid's a top 10 guy, and they got him at 17. That's a good pick. Okay. Jack Campbell, the guy's a second rounder. Detroit drafts two guys that you could have gotten a second round. Kalijah Kancey, Tampa Bay, typical Bucks move, undersized D lineman like Booger and Sapp, Sileo. Jackson Smith-Ajaba, Seattle, on the other side of DK, nice move. Quentin Johnson, I ain't drafting anybody out of two schools, North Dakota State and TCU, especially at wideout. Zay Flowers, got to get somebody, keep Lamar happy. It's one of the reasons he signed. Jordan Addison, not a fan of, but he's on the other side of Justin Jefferson. He's going to get some touches. Deontay Banks, I like the player from Maryland. Dalton Kincaid, Buffalo got a good tight end. Mozzie Smith, overdrafted by the Cowboys. Anton Harrison, Jags, OT, protecting Trevor Lawrence. Miles Murphy, there you go, Tone. Goes to Cincinnati Edge. Brian Breezy, two Clemson guys go in a row, New Orleans. Nolan Smith, okay, I'm all right. And Uzama, the edge rusher from K-State, goes to Kansas City. All in all, I think a lot of guys, there's this couple, like Detroit moves kind of are weird. But, yeah. Interesting. Now we turn our sights to this. Tomorrow, June 1's around the corner. And I'm going to tell you 10 guys that Howie could go after that I think are going to be cut. We've done some homework. And some of them are LBs. Don't be shocked to see White. That's going to be interesting if they can't restructure his contract. The Bucs are in salary cap hell. Lot to hit on. I appreciate everybody. You guys have been great today. Thank you so much. Tone, absolutely fantastic. Thank you again. You have been spectacular. We'll see you tomorrow going 3 to 6. And we'll see you on the flip side.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.